How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike The Pig Crum. Mike, how are you?
I thought for sure I was getting sleepiest.
No,
I
not
thought
today,
for
Mike.
sure
Unless you
I
make
was
it.
getting the sleepiest co-host in the world.
I
I'm awake.
considered
I'm
worse.
energized. I'm ready.
Mike, well, I know you're ready to get after it. So where can we find you on Twitter?
At CD Piglet, guys, nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, Mike, I know with our guest tonight, there's no way he can possibly fall asleep. This gentleman is easily the most enthusiastic man in Cowboys Nation. He has the best man cave in the game. You see him getting hyped on Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Can You Dig It, Mike Tags, to the broadcast. Mike, how are you?
Good, man. What's going on, guys? It's 10
much,
o'clock
sir.
in Florida, but I'm sure I can get hype enough. I'm sure we'll get to make this thing happen. My man Mike ain't falling asleep with me on here.
No. You are the hype man. No matter how, dude, we played like the game with Cooper Rush. You're like, Cooper Rush, here we go. You watch Mike's video, you're like, we're going to win.
Well, that's what I try and do. I always tell people, when I was a kid, the Cowboys were bad for a while. Then they got good in the 90s. But for a while, I would just tell people, and even after Aikman, if you give me time, I'm going to convince you that we can win. Now, I even did it with like Clint Sterner, Ryan Leaf. And I don't know how I did that because I knew we'd lose. But sometimes I just get it in my mind is if we just do this and that, we got a shot. But it just never seemed to work out in those times.
Well, Mike, I know I was introduced to you by your videos on Twitter. Let the people know where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, just at MTAG1993. You can usually about 48 hours before the game. So if the game's on Sunday, I'll drop it on Friday night. Sometimes maybe a little earlier. If I'm at the stadium, maybe I'll find a tailgate party to hang out with and do one live before the game.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, I'm curious. I know you mentioned you're from Florida, but how did you become a Cowboys fan, and how long have you been a Cowboys fan?
Well, I've been a fan my whole life, as long as I can remember. I don't know the exact story, but in my mind, because I found old pictures of my mom, she had a Cowboys shirt on, and I used to have I just remember having a 33 shirt, and I got, two older brothers. I got a younger sister, so the brotherly rivalry always happens. So we're all within a year or two of each other, and he was Dolphins fan, so I had the 33. He was Tony Nathan, I was Tony Dorsett, and we used to just play football on the bed, knock each other off. So I was a Cowboys fan from that point on, and been ever since.
That's awesome, man. It's nice to have some people that have been through the 90s wins like I have.
Yeah.
So that when we bring up we've won 5, they go, oh, you never seen any of them. Oh, we have.
Yeah.
We've seen them.
Yeah.
No, I remember, and that's what I tell people, is like when you have these Super Bowls, I was in high school, so I was a senior, the first Super Bowl, then you had the 2 after. So I appreciated it, but I didn't really appreciate it, if you know what I mean. So like some people would say, hey, what's the greatest moment as a Cowboys fan? Well, to me, it was that 92 Super Bowl season. That was number one for me. But I think the next ones might be the best because I've had all this time. That drought has been so long. It's been burning up inside that this one might top it. And it's going to happen. Better happen this year, but it's going to happen.
I'm ready for it, man. All right, so you have a lot of time like me. You've seen a lot of players. Who's your favorite all-time Cowboy, and then who's your favorite 2022 Cowboy?
Well, favorite all-time. I'm always partial to Tony Dorsett, but I was too young to really appreciate him. He was getting near the end of his career. So Emmitt Smith, to me, that was the prime years. If you look in my cave, I've got kind of a section for Emmitt Smith, and I was able to meet him a couple times. He was probably my all-time favorite. I've always, if you see it, I'm partial to running backs. So it was Tony Dorsett, it was Herschel Walker, it was Emmitt Smith. So Zeke is always, been my, favorite on the team. But I love all the guys. But if I were to have to pick one, I'm always partial to the running back.
Just to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, Mike, are you? I know you're a Zeke fan, but what are your thoughts on Pollard? Do you think that he should be taking the majority of snaps?
I don't know if he should be taking a majority of snaps, but I think they need to get him involved. I think if you look at Zeke, he gets a lot of hate, and when you get paid, that's going to come with it. But
Yeah.
I always try and remind people, look at what he was doing before he got hurt. So he got hurt in the Panthers game. He was averaging over 5 yards a carry, 100 yards a game. I mean, he was looking solid. He got hurt. I don't know where the blame lies. I don't know if it's him trying to, be the warrior or whatever, to have that, that image, or the coaches for not being smart enough to rest him. They should have played Pollard more. I was at the playoff game, and when we're playing San Francisco, and I said from there, I said, man, they need to keep Pollard in the game. The one time they scored, they needed, he was in the game. You could see Zeke couldn't make the cuts. He just didn't have that burst. So I think him playing the way he did, it hurt him. And the thing that I talked about a little bit today, but when you're a Cowboys player and you get paid, you get hate. You get hate from all sides. But I don't understand why, McCaffrey does. Where's the hate for him? He got paid. He don't ever play. Barkley, he has never played. I mean, Zeke, when's he not played?
Right.
He's always, he's always on the field. So I think he deserves it, but I do think they need to get Pollard in there more. And that's not a knock on Zeke. You want to have a two-headed monster. So, why does it have to be one or the other? Get them both on the field and use their skill set to our advantage.
Yeah, and we saw him do it last year with the first couple of weeks with Pollard and Zeke, and they were both having success. So I'd like to see that more too.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, you were talking a little bit about that San Francisco game. We know how the season ended, but is there a player or coach from the 2021 season that you feel is most responsible for Dallas' success or lack thereof, Mike?
It's a team game, but, we talked about it a little earlier. I think everything, you live and die with your quarterback, and you're going to go as far as the quarterback takes you. And Dak coming off that injury, I was there in Tampa. Didn't look like he was hurt at all, right? He came out hitting it. But, you saw him hit a wall. I was at the Denver game, unfortunately, and it was like from that point forward, it always seemed they were getting that slow start. And really, if you look at the San Francisco game, that's probably the one playoff game where you can point to Dak and say, he didn't play his best game. He didn't really help the team much. They made a late surge. But, I think, unfortunately, you live and die with a quarterback. They get the credit, so sometimes they get the blame. So
I like that answer.
It's so ironic that he spent all year not running, and then they ran. He ran the quarterback draw on the last play for. I'm like, he hadn't done it all year. What It's not like they could have practiced it too much or anything. So that was I don't blame the call or anything, but it's ironic that with the injuries and stuff, that's how that season ended,
Yeah, and I think you'll see a difference this year, right? So you saw in the games, it was frustrating, as a fan, because it's like, hey, get your 5 yards and slide, get your 8 yards, move the chain. But he didn't. He stayed. I don't know if he was just a little concerned, and it's understandably with the ankle injury. But I think you're going to see a difference this year. I think you're going to see him run a little bit. And we don't want him to be Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. I just want him to run to get the first down, get out of bounds, go to the next series. And I think that's something, as a fan, last year was a little frustrating because I think we had opportunities for that. But for whatever reason, it just, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
What's your step up or step out player for the year? Give me one. Don't hedge on it. Give me one guy that needs to step up or get on out of here.
Well, if you're looking, I hate to say it because the only thing I can think of, only because of injury, would be Tyron Smith. And I think he's at a point where he's still one of the top tackles, but you can only really, we bank on him for 13, 14 games of what you count on. So, with them drafting Tyler Smith, if things progress, I think you may see that shift over to where he may go to left tackle at some point. It's not a knock on Tyron, but I think at a point with dollars and caps and all that, availability is one of the most important things.
Do you have a defensive guy? I'm sorry, Paul. I was going to ask if you had a defensive guy.
The easy one is always like, LVE. He's an easy target. He's got a 1-year deal. He's always been solid, but he's been facing injuries. So to me, that might be the safe, easy play. as far
Mike,
as one of the starters.
We know how good Tyron is when he's on the field, but let's just say hypothetically, if we were to lose him for 10 games or so, do you feel like that would be a season ender?
Well, I've lived through the games when he hasn't played, and I'm sure you guys have too. I sat through that Atlanta game, years back, and that was miserable. The concern that I would have is if he missed significant time, I don't think we have the depth that we can, that we'd be able to overcome it. That's really,
Exactly.
The scary part for the Cowboys is, everything on the front line looks good, but man, if one of those guys go down, I don't know what you're going to have.
If you know he's out 10 weeks, do you flip? Do you just go, okay, time to get Tyler Smith out there, Connor McGovern, your left guard? Or do you put Josh Ball out there?
Yeah, I would see what Tyler Smith has. I mean, he could remind us of, and don't take the comparison. I'm just going to use it as an example. Is I remember Larry Allen and Larry Allen in his young days, the first few games. I remember, I believe it was Thanksgiving, where Reggie White just absolutely manhandled him. And that was the last and only time that ever happened. So I think, see what he's got. I would give him the first crack at it, because I think by then you're going to be desperate, unless, left tackles aren't going to be just readily available, on the scrapyard somewhere. So I think I would go with your best option first, which would be, Tyler Smith, see what happens. But we're in trouble if it does.
Mike Tagg believes Tyler Smith's better than Larry Allen. That's what I heard.
Don't make that cut, because I will attack me, man.
All right, so Mike, here we go. You can only pick one, no caveats, no 1A or 1B. Which move from Dallas is your biggest disappointment this offseason?
Now, this is going to be the interesting one, because I hear all this hate, and I get it. So the easy pick to me would be Amari Cooper, because it just didn't make a lot of sense. It wasn't like, he was, at least to my knowledge, it wasn't a locker room problem. He wasn't, he produced. I think there was some concern of more the value. Is he worth the money that we're paying him? But then when you look at some of the receivers and the contracts they got, well, maybe he's not so bad. So that would be the one that was disappointing, because it didn't make a lot of sense to me. It wasn't like we were in cap. You see the cap numbers we have. We had the money, so it wasn't like, we didn't have the cap space. So that would probably be the one that was disappointing. But I just want to put on record, overall, I know they get a lot of hate for the free agent. I really didn't have a lot of issues with what they did. And I know, the Randy Gregory thing, that was, that maybe blew up in their face or something. But at what point do you pay all that money for a guy that has been in trouble for a long time, and they've been very fair with him, and they helped him out. They redid his deal when he was broke and all this and that. At some point you got to protect yourself, because if he would have been, let's say he gets suspended, all you guys and all in Cowboy Nation would have been ripping them apart.
So. Yeah, it's funny that I put out a thing after the Anthony Barr signing and go, look, we all, me included, I kill Stephen Jones for not making a big play every once in a while. But I go, if you look at the contracts of what he's signed, Malik Hooker, Dorrance Armstrong, LVE, you can go down the line. And I put them on. I go, we got to give him an A+ for those deals, right? I thought I'd get agreed with a lot more. I got killed for it. They were like, nah, he doesn't win nothing. No Super Bowls. Forget that guy. I was like, well, I mean, we can separate. We're smart people. We can separate. He does this really well. They do this with the draft really well. And then they're bad with like going all in with free agency. Maybe they could do some more splash moves. Yeah. Nah, dude, people were still killing him. So I feel you on that.
No, and I think they've made years ago in the earlier when Jerry was really at the helm, they would make those splash moves, right? You're going to pay whatever you get to Dion. You're going to pay all these guys. I mean, Leroy Glovers and who was Leonard Davis. They got all these, big high-priced guys. It didn't really equate to anything. The only thing except for Dion, of course, the only thing that they're doing now, which could work or it couldn't, and I would say the last couple of years it has worked, is they're putting all the pressure on the young guys in the draft. They've got to produce now, and they've got to be impact. And that's what I'd said, like even before this draft. I said, out of the draft, they better get 3 guys that are going to contribute right away to the team. They don't have to be the stars, but they're going to have to be impact players at their position. And that's what they've done. And they've done pretty well the last few years. I mean, Micah Parsons, how many people, because I did a video on Micah Parsons, I got annihilated by everyone saying, what a waste. You don't draft a linebacker. He's a bum. He's this, he's that. I mean, you don't know until let's talk about it when the season's over. Let's see how they did. It's the same thing with Tyler Smith. He's getting destroyed. And he played down yet.
I had Micah Parsons as my linebacker 4. I had two things that I'll never live down on my draft coverage. Micah Parsons, linebacker 4, and Josh Rosen, quarterback 1. We missed, man. We missed. Parsons, I didn't see. I thought he'd be good. I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
This is like nothing that I ever thought. Like, I was so far off on him that, like, I would understand if nobody listened to me on draft stuff ever. If I said something and I was right and people were like, yeah, but Parsons, I'd be like, fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And I mean, but that's what it is. I mean, how often do you hit? I mean, you're going to have these guys. It's just like I was saying, there's a reason why you see undrafted free agents and 5th round and 6th round and 7th round guys succeed, because you don't know how they're going to handle that next level. When they get the money, how are they going to be? How are they going to stay hungry? Are they going to just, spend it all and live where else? Or are they get, these 5th and 6th round guys, I mean, they're fighting for a paycheck and they're fighting for their lives. And that's why you see so many of them succeed. When you get to this level, you just don't know. That's why I'm usually very cautious on destroying drafts. And I don't get too excited. I mean, I'll get hyped about it and be excited when you get a player, but you just got to let it play out and see what happens.
Well,
I'm curious.
Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, what were your thoughts on the Tyler Smith pick?
I thought we needed a lineman. And I've said this to anyone, and I say it on my show. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't watch film of college. I'm a fan. I watch games. I do all that stuff. I know the game, but I'm not going to question. I'm not going to destroy them. All I'm saying is you get us the best lineman. I wanted the best lineman that our scouts thought was on the board. That's who they said was the best on the board. I mean, we have to think they picked him. So I've got to trust that Will McClay and those guys did their due diligence. I mean, let's look at the record of their 1st round draft pick linemen. You got Tyron Smith, Frederick, Zach Martin.
They're
so far
good.
So good in the 1st round. Maybe there's a dud in there you can remind me of, but I'm just saying on the offensive line, so far so good with it.
Yeah, I was one of those that was like value-wise, I had him as a 2nd rounder, but I said this kid's gonna be really good. He looks more advanced than even I thought early. I thought maybe you take a year or two. Kid looks good. He's real smart. I like his mentality.
Yeah. So and hopefully he brings a nastiness to us. We need to run the ball, man. Hopefully he could, bring that.
Well, this may lead into the next question. What position group are you most worried about on the team?
Well, before the Bar signing, I thought our linebackers, and I know it sounds crazy because you got Micah Parsons, but I look at Micah Parsons as a guy that we want to move all around, right? You want to be able to rush him, you want to disguise it, you want to do all these different things. And I just felt our linebacker depth is so thin. I mean, you're looking at LVE, who's solid when he's there, but he's had some injury issues. You got Jabril Cox, who's injured, coming off an injury. So that was the position that I had the most concern with. I mean, maybe Barr solidifies that and moves it up a little bit, but I'd probably still say that the linebacker spot concerns me the most with depth.
We have a question here for you, Mike, from the viewer. It's what are your thoughts on the receiving corps injuries, and will we pick up anyone?
I think they might pick someone up a little bit, if something happens. But I've talked about it. Like Jalen Tolbert, I've watched him at South Alabama since he's been there because a friend of mine's son he's a player there. So I would support his games and watch him. And even everything that he told me about him, and all the stuff that they said, now I'm hearing all the Cowboys say it. There's like 50-50 balls. They're not 50-50 with him. So I think he's going to be a solid number 2. It's holding down the fort till Gallup gets back, right? And if something were to happen there, I think they would look at maybe free agency, maybe Odell, maybe if he's out there and he gets back, I mean, maybe they make a move, but I think they're going to stick with what they have. I mean, who's out there that you would get that you'd feel would be better? I don't know.
Yeah, who's available that's not injured? Like
Will
Fuller's always injured. OBJ's currently injured. It's tough. The Jalen Tolbert was my favorite signing. I wanted him in the second round. I had a second round grade on him. I couldn't believe teams let him get to us in the third round. I knew when the pick was coming up, I was like, oh, they're getting Jalen Tolbert. It's crazy. He's still there. He looks great.
Yeah, and I thought at number 2, I was like you. I was like, man, because my son and I were going back because we wanted him, and when they didn't take him in the second round, I was like, man, I don't think we're gonna get him because the wide receivers, they have that run, and my friend, his dad was telling me, because Cowboys have been talking to him. He said Prescott's been talking to him. The Cowboys are on to him. So I was like, all right, well, maybe they know something, but I thought we'd end up, I was worried that he was going to be gone by the time we picked again.
He's going to be Diggs. You know how like everybody was talking, well, if Chason and CeeDee Lamb and them aren't there, they'll get Diggs at 17. Sam Williams happened to fall. They wanted him. Diggs falls all the way to the next round. It's going to be one of those where people are going to be like, wow, what a value to get that guy where they did.
No, I think so. But again, it's that pressure that the Cowboys are going to put on a rookie. He's going to have to be the number 2 guy. I think he's going to have to start immediately.
I got to ask, Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but when we passed on Tolbert and selected Sam Williams, what was your initial reaction?
Well, I knew the thing is I knew we needed a DN, and I'd like guys from the big schools. I'm not an SEC fan. I'm a Miami Hurricane, so I'm ACC. I can't stand the SEC. They drive me nuts. But I mean, they produce guys, and I didn't know a lot about them, but just watching the highlights and talking about it, I said, all right, well, they better get a receiver. I knew they had to get a receiver, so I was disappointed, but I thought, well, maybe they're gonna work a trade because, like I said, I heard a lot that they were after Tolbert. It was one of the main teams that he talked to the most, so I felt like that would have been they were going to hopefully have something up their sleeve to get him. But I mean, Sam Williams, it seems like everything I've seen, they've been pretty impressed with him. I know he's probably going to be just a one-trick pony this year of a pass rusher, but nothing wrong with that.
No. Being able to pass rush Sam Williams, Barr, and Micah Parsons, and they all three could be at different areas of standing up.
Yeah,
that's got to be terrifying.
Yeah, and that's what I say too. That if people talk about the free agent signings we didn't get. I mean, how about keeping Dan Quinn? I mean, that's got to be worth,
right?
That's got to be worth a stud splash player any day.
Huge.
Yeah, no question about that. When you look at this roster, Mike, is there a veteran you believe might not make it this year?
Well, I think probably, Tristan Hill, I think he's probably, I think his time's probably up, right? I don't know any other veteran that I would think of that, that might be on the way out. I know that there's a lot of hate on Anthony Brown, but I mean, he's been solid. I mean, he gets a lot of hate, but he's always been solid. And I know everyone, my son is Kelvin Joseph. He loves Kelvin Joseph, and he keeps waiting for him to take that spot. But I don't think Anthony Brown's going to give it up, very easily.
Mm-mm.
No, not at all. I've heard Tristan Hill's had a good camp. He's going to have to translate to preseason games, but I think there's going to be a battle between him and Carlos Watkins. I'm interested in who they go with in that scenario. If there was, now that we just got Anthony Barr, we did our job. We brought a free agent in, but if there was another one you could pick up, you could tell Jerry, hey, we need him, or tell Steven, is there one that you would want, and who would it be?
There's one that I've been asking for 3 years, and we have never gotten him, and I don't think we'll get him this time, is Sue. I just think he brings what we need is a nasty championship. It's championship mentality, and it's what I said. Could they have overpaid for Von Miller? Yeah, they could have overpaid for him to get that championship mentality, and that's all I was trying to get them. Even with Matthew, we don't have that mentality and that championship pedigree on this team right now. And I think you bring a guy in, even though maybe the position is not you're not thin at it. You've got some young guys that you believe in, but I think bringing a guy like Sue in, I think it just changes the defense in the locker room.
Sue was on the Lions. They were a top 5 run defense. He went to Miami. They were the number 1 run defense. He went to Tampa. They were the number 1 run defense.
Yeah.
I mean, John Ridgeway and Bohanna are young guys. They're just not going to be able to do what a Sue does. Yeah. And him with Curse and Parsons, that attitude, I am so with you on that signing. Please.
I know. He's still there, man. Jerry, listen to us. And I don't even think it'd be that expensive. And they got the money. I mean, just do it. Give him a 1-year deal and, make it happen.
Overpay him a little bit. Do an incentive one. It's okay.
No, I agree.
1 year.
Absolutely. When you include the draft, what grade would you give the Cowboys for this offseason?
See, now I'll leave this to Mike. I'm not a grade guy. I didn't do good in school, so I definitely don't want to talk about grades. But yeah, I think it'll be proven out, and I don't want to say all right, average, whatever, if that makes people happy. But you don't know. It's like you sign, and I know people like to give, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Lyle Collins. Everyone wanted, everyone was so sad to see him go, but when he was here, didn't come in shape. The 1 year, was gone the whole time. He got beat out by Steele because he got suspended, and Steele outplayed him. So they're gone. I mean, what are you missing? So he's gone, and now he's in Cincinnati. What has he done there? He's not been in shape. He's now on the PUP list. So, okay, he's gone. Randy Gregory, availability is important. Where's he at? He's on the PUP list. He's been hurt. And I'm not saying these things would happen in Dallas, but I'm not going to kill him, and we'll wait and see what the season, see how it goes. If Dallas doesn't live up to the expectations, if they don't start making a run in the playoffs, and that's all it's about. It's people wanting to be 13-4. Now we got to do 17 games. I got to remember the numbers: 13-4, 12-5, whatever that is. I'm fine with them being 9-8, fighting their way into the playoffs and making a run. I mean, to me, all I care about now is I want to be. They've got to do something in the playoffs, and then I'll give you the grade. That's all that matters. Regular season, off season, none of that shit matters. I got to see something in the playoffs, because right now, something ain't right in Dallas. Some say Jerry Jones signed a deal with the devil back in the day to win that one Super Bowl without Jimmy Johnson. I'm not a believer in all that stuff, but I'm starting to think it might be true, because we lose playoff games. We don't lose playoff games. We get our hearts ripped out in playoff games.
We really do. The grade is incomplete
until
we see how they do in the playoffs. You think if they put Jimmy Johnson in the Ring of Honor, do you think that breaks this curse or jinx or anything, and they go on a run?
Well, I would hope so, but I think it's such a disrespect to Jimmy Johnson, and I love Jerry as an owner. I do. I know a lot of people. When I hear that press conference in the training camp, man, I'm ready to get rolling. He sells me every time. I can't help it. I drink the Kool-Aid, whatever you guys want to call it. But Jimmy Johnson, for what he meant to that franchise, and being a fan, in the 80s, and just being, I remember going to school. I was the only Cowboys fan, and in South Florida at the time, and I got laughed at, and my friends gave me crap all the time. I always wear my Cowboys stuff. And then we finally turn it around. He gets it going. We start winning the Super Bowls, and he won 3. They could say, he only got 2. He won 3, absolutely. And I guarantee you, without any doubt in my mind, we would have won 4, possibly 5, if he would have stayed in a row. And for Jerry Jones, if Jerry Jones would have won a Super Bowl within the last 10 years, Jimmy Johnson would be in there right now. The only reason he's not in there is because he doesn't want the fans to be reminded of what he did and what he caused, and they can call it any way. Jimmy Johnson's always tried to take the high road on it, but what he did, it's always going to be a reminder until we get another Super Bowl. So I don't think Jimmy Johnson's going to be in there until we get another Super Bowl.
Wow. I'm a Cowboys fan because of Jimmy Johnson. I was a Florida or Miami fan, and I came over with Jimmy Johnson and Michael Irvin, and I went through the 1-15 and everything, and then we went on a run, and man, I was pretty devastated when they ended up not being able to get together, and And then I had Shaq Kobe. So I'm like, I feel like I'm part of a curse for them. I'm breaking my team's guys up.
I don't know how you can't get along when you're winning. It's the hardest thing to me to understand. But ego is, it's a tough thing.
Yeah, so more important to this next season, the offense, Tyler Smith or CeeDee Lamb?
I would have to say CeeDee Lamb because we just don't have much behind him. And I think, he's going to have to be the X factor for this offense. And he's going to have, I think they want to put him everywhere, right? They're going to move him around. There's going to be a lot run through him. So I think it's going to be really important. I think Tyler Smith's going to be good. I think he's going to be solid. I don't think he's going to be an all-pro his first year and the most dominant player on the line. I think he's going to learn and he's going to have to grow into that. So I think, especially with moving on from Coop, there's going to be a lot of pressure on CeeDee Lamb. And I think he can deliver. I think he's been the number one receiver on the team for the last couple of years. I just think they haven't officially,
agree. The stats and the analytics agree with you too. He was double teamed more. He was targeted more. He had more receptions, more yards. So yeah, he was number one in my opinion.
Yeah.
Going to the defensive side, is Trayvon Diggs or Demarcus Lawrence more important to the defense success this year?
Well, I think with any defense, just my own opinion, if you don't have a really good pass rush, I don't care who you got back there, unless it's Deion Sanders, they're going to get exposed. And so I would say that, Tank is going to be more important to the success of the team. I think, obviously, losing Gregory, that's going to again put more pressure on Tank, but he was hurt last year. He came back. He was looking good. I think he's another guy. It's when you get paid, you get the hate. I mean, I don't understand it. I don't pay their bills. They'll say, well, you go to the games, I pay their bill. No, I mean, that's not how it works. Someone's going to get the money. But, I think he's going to be really important. And not only that, his leadership. I think he's a vocal leader on this team. He's a high energy guy. So I think he's probably the most important, for this team as far as success between the two.
If somebody were to tell me like, well, he's not been able to play, he's been injured. Oh, okay, fine. But the ones that were like, he doesn't have the sacks. I'm like, look at his pressure numbers, his run defense. He's been consistently one of the best defensive ends in football. Just sometimes if you don't have help, you don't get to the quarterback. Micah Parsons got 13.5 sacks. He had Randy Gregory and Demarcus Lawrence, and DA had his best year, and Osa was there now. It takes a village to get a sack. It really does.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's and a lot of it in some of those Tank early years, I mean, and appreciate it. He would get to the quarterback, but our defensive tackles were so bad. The pocket was moved up. He's there, but the quarterback just stepped right up because our defensive tackles were getting pushed off the ball 2-3 yards.
Every time. It was like every time. It was one of the more frustrating things to watch as a Cowboys fan because this guy's killing people and he had no help.
Yeah.
And this is the toughest question. Okay, ready?
Uh-oh.
Who's the better player? Dak Prescott or Micah Parsons?
Well, the better player is probably Micah Parsons. The most important player to the team is Dak Prescott because we have nothing behind him. So, but I mean, Parsons is. I mean, you see that side. He's got a spot in the cave. I mean, he's got the jersey up. I got a picture. I mean, I love the guy. I think what he's done. He's a game changer, and I love defense. And I think what he's brought to this team is a shift to defense. And I think that's what's severely been lacking with this team is that defensive presence. And I think his energy is contagious. I mean, you just see the way he's out there. And then you're gonna get Tank back. Hey, if he stays healthy all year, you've got Diggs in the backfield. It's what we have a playmaker at every level of the defense. And we haven't really had that in a long time. I mean, it's been sporadic. Sean Lee's good, but availability has always been a problem. Secondary, I mean, I don't know. This is you tell me. Is this the first time that I think we have a little comfort level with our secondary going into a season? So
Yes.
I'm excited to see this defense another year under Quinn. And I just think we're going to, I see this team being more of a defensive team, run the ball, control the clock, make things happen. Don't put so much pressure, on Dak to throw for 5,000 yards and win with some defense.
Shameless plug. I have a rankings of the DBs in the NFC East. I just sent it into KD at Cowboys Wire, so it'll be out soon. And when I was going over, Dallas's secondary is really good. Like, I mean, Jaron Curse, Diggs, and All-Pro. Anthony Brown, if you go around the league, he's probably a top 5 cornerback 2 by the numbers. Like, if you take out the Raiders penalty game and the first game of the year, he might have been the best cornerback 2 in football. Like, he was really, really good. And then you have Malik Hooker, who's coming off that injury, a year off that injury, and we've seen what the possibility of him is.
Yeah.
They're severely underrated. I'm so excited to see what they could do. Added to that there's a pass rush of Tank and Parsons and Sam Williams possibly, and Anthony Barr possibly, and Armstrong. I mean, it is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Mike. So for my son, so you can give me your opinion. So Kelvin Joseph, what's your take on him? What's your outlook for him this year?
He was my 24th highest player in the draft. I loved him. I thought the value was great. I understand why he dropped off the field, and you see it right now. You see why it was a risk, and Dallas does this. Jalen Smith injury, top talent, top first-round talent, worry about an injury. Gregory, first-round talent, worry about a off the field. Lawrence, same thing. They do this in the second round a lot. I honestly thought, second year, he's going to take Anthony Brown's job. No, he is not. Yeah. He's now battling Nashawn Wright for cornerback 4 for the top reserve coming in. I didn't expect that, to be honest, but he doesn't look like his mind's in the game. And it probably has a lot to do with what he just went through. I'm going to give him more excuses and more chances than most, because if he's really talented, he just needs to stop grabbing.
Yeah.
Stop grabbing. Let people beat you a little bit. You'll get the hang of it, but just stop grabbing. That's basically his main issue. His head, and he keeps his hands too much on players. So I was right with your son. Talent-wise, this kid can play. He should be a corner that starts. His mental's not there right now.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about. That's the thing you can't predict in a draft when you're getting these guys, is that part of the game. You just don't know until they're there.
Put Tyler Smith's mind, the way he looks at the game, the way he focuses, put that into Kelvin Joseph, and he could be an all-pro corner. He has that kind of talent. And that's why he'll make the team. He's not going to go anywhere. He'll be here all 4 years he's here. He's too talented. They want it to click. But, you could kind of look and go, man, it's going to be a lot. No matter how well he plays, it's going to be a lot to bring him back.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to pay when it's not right here.
No, I'm with you. I appreciate that.
Mike, you made a comment about the defense not being the strength of this team. Do you think that if our defense takes the next step and our offense takes a step back, that we could be as good as we were last year?
No, I think we could be better. I mean, if you look at, I mean, all you got to do is look at San Francisco. I mean, they manhandled us, right? Bully balled us. They didn't have more talent than us. If we played them 10 times, we'd beat them 7. I mean, maybe even more.
Yeah, I agree.
But they controlled it. Their defense was physical. They hit hard. They were relentless. And that's what we got to do. Their offense, I mean, Debo had a couple good plays, but Garoppolo, we all said Garoppolo's going to give you the opportunities, and he did. He gave us the opportunities to get back in the game and stuff. So I don't think you need to have this high-powered, offense. I mean, you saw what happened with, in the Super Bowl, what breaks my heart did, with the Bucs and the Chiefs. But, the Bucs had a good offense, but their defense just destroyed Kansas City. And I still believe, look at, again, San Francisco against Green Bay. Their defense destroyed, as good as Aaron Rodgers is. Aaron Rodgers, another guy who gets a pass. I mean, like I told Simon, The only Super Bowl he's won is with McCarthy. And they keep saying McCarthy's the only Super Bowl he's won with Rodgers, but what's he done? He's won nothing in the playoffs and been 13-3 all these years, and you're not getting nothing out of it. So he's another one who always seems to get a pass. He's going to ride on that Super Bowl that he got, so long ago. Fine, whatever. I'm not saying he's not great, but he gets a pass. I still believe defense. Give me defense. Give me physical play. Give me a team that's going to intimidate. And because I'm telling you, at that Cowboys game in San Francisco, all you had to do was watch them both walk out of the locker room. As soon as you walked them out of the locker room, I told my buddy next day, I said, we're in trouble. Because you saw the swag, you saw the attitude that San Francisco had. And Dallas, man, that offense they looked intimidated to me.
I agree 100%. They got bully ball, especially they just brought a 4-man rush and killed them all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that it'll be nice to come out and have Parsons, Curse, Osa, Lawrence, and now we can bully a little bit.
Yeah. And if the defensive tackles, like you talked about, Mike, if those defensive tackles, we're going to have to rely on them. Gallimore and Osa, those guys, it's going to come down to them holding it, stop that run and holding it and allowing, Parsons and Tank to do their thing. And if that can happen, we've got a pretty good scheme on defense, and we got some talent there that can make it happen and get back to running the ball with Zeke and Pollard. Find your spots with Dak and obviously hitting the receivers and tight ends and stuff. But that's when they were successful the most. Even look at those early games when they're running the ball efficiently and effectively. The offensive was clicking, and it's going to be on Moore. He's another one. He's on my list. This guy gets a pass. He can make some plays, but it seems like when he gets punched in the mouth, he's like looking around trying to figure out what the hell to do.
Yeah, it's amazing too. Like Paul had said, if the defense steps up, they were a top 10 defense. If they step up into the top 5, and he said the offense takes a step back. Well, they were number 1 in points and yards. So even if they take a step back and say they're 8th, now you're talking a top 5 defense with the top 10 offense.
Yeah,
you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah. Well, and you guys, we've had this debate, and I'm sure you guys do in Cowboy land. Did you really think that was the number 1 offense? It was all smoke and mirrors. It was a few big games, but they had games that they were just not clicking. It just seemed like the system wasn't working. It seemed like Kellen Moore was confused. We didn't know what we were doing, play calling and this and that. And so I think the offense could be better, but really maybe the stats aren't as good, but I think it'd be a better flowing, fluid offense and than it was last year. Last year it just seemed like they had some huge games where they blew teams up and got a lot of yards, but they had their share of really bad ones that were very disappointing.
But to your point of what you've been making all night, it's like our defense making plays kind of led to our offense getting going and
the turnovers, right?
Yeah. All right, Mike. Here we are with the theme of the episode here. The theme of this series. You get to squash your Cowboys beef. Here you're going to have 1 to 5 minutes to get whatever issues, new or old, you want to get off your chest. Maybe you can act as if Jerry, Steven, or anyone associated with the Cowboys that you have problems with is listening and that you want to get it off your chest.
Well, the only thing that I want to get off my chest is that it's time for Jerry, it's time for Steven to just get out of the way and stop with the distractions. Stop with all that, Jerry after every game he's running in. Let the coaches coach, let the players play, and just be the owner. Now, that's never going to happen. As long as he's on the team. What I'm talking about is pipe dreams. But get down to football being the priority. It's not the crypto coin or whatever the hell that was he did and all this, other stuff. Sell all that aside. But focus on football. Focus on winning. And I'm telling you, you guys, people don't like McCarthy, whatever. I've watched him. I listened to him. I've seen him. The guy he's a good coach. And he's got the mentality for this team, and he wants to focus just on football. But he can't because Jerry Jones, they got to drop the rumor about Sean Payton maybe coming, and they got to drop the rumor about this happening. We don't know what we're going to do here, and we're not going to do that. Just stop all the bullshit because that's what kills this team. It's just distraction. It's just constant distraction by the owners. And if they get past that, focus on football be the priority, I think this team can put over. They've had talent. I've argued this with all these. Take away those years between Aikman and Romo and look at the Romo years and look at the Dak years. This team has had talent to win. They've come up short. And again, it's all mentality. And it's country club mentality. Bill Parcells, when he was here, he stopped that crap. But that's what Jerry allows. When you can go to the owner and bypass a head coach, you cut his legs off. When Mike McCarthy got hired and you tell him, oh, your offensive coordinator's this guy, when he's an offensive guy, you cut his legs off. That's it. And that's what Jerry, and I don't know if it's so much Steven, maybe he's the bigger problem. I used to hope that Steven would be taking it over, and now I'm starting to wonder maybe it's Steven. I don't know. But they got to get back to that. And if they ever do, and they can win. They've got everything. They've got their draft. Look at their draft. They've drafted well the last – as long as I can remember, they've always got talent. Talent's never been the problem. It's all the distractions that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones do.
There was a time where it was Jeff Kavanaugh and I talking about, we were just getting killed. It was us two going, look, Mike McCarthy's good. Say what you want. He's good. He has the right mentality. He treats the players right as far as taking care of their bodies. He understands practice and like what you need to get through on your practices. He's, Andy Reid's bad on game day with timeouts and stuff. That isn't as important. Like great coaches have Bill Belichick, one of the worst with that, all-time greatest coach. So I feel I'm with you on the Mike McCarthy. I love Sean Payton. It's fine if he comes here. If we don't if we're out in the first round, I'm totally good with Sean Payton coming here. He's a great coach too. But their resume is similar. They both have one Super Bowl win. They both had great quarterbacks. Yep. I think Sean Payton should have went to a few more, some referee stuff, some miracle things kind of happened to keep him away. But I'm a fan of him. I think you can win a Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy. I don't think he has.
Yeah.
I think you can.
No, and he's had success. But again, it's when you got the drama, and again, the fans, we're sometimes our own worst enemy too, because we get sucked into all the, Peyton and this and that. And we want the next best thing, and we want the flavor of the month. And we always try, but it's, we've got the team. We've got the team. Stop the distraction, focus on football, and I like our chances.
Well, Mike, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight. Before we get you out of here, let the people know where they can find you on Twitter, and also talk to us a little bit about your YouTube channel that you and I were talking about pre-roll.
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, Twitter's where I do most of my stuff. It's mtag1993. I'm on Instagram, same handle. Also have a YouTube channel. Do a podcast, drop my hype videos, do some cowboy talk. Again, it's just fan stuff. I've got cowboyscave.com, which you can find everything on there. And I'm starting to get fan caves in, and I love, as you can see, I love my Cowboys cave. I love listening and talking to other fans with their caves, because everything is so personal. There's always a story behind everything that you do. And then lastly, I'm on Cameo. So I've been on there for a year. I do custom, videos, birthday, weddings, whatever. Awesome. You need me to be the best man, I'll do it. But now I'm doing all these fantasy football drafts. So people, they sign up and I'll pick their draft, and you can go on and check them out. The thing with me is I'm not going to be reading in front of a phone. You're paying a reasonable, it's like $20, and I do it. What you see in hype videos is what you're going to get.
That's great. Hey, also, the daughter, she's a little hype. She's the next generation hype. Make sure to shout her out too. Where can we find her on Twitter? Yeah,
well, she's at EvaTag6 on Twitter. The trouble is, if you got kids, is they start to get to a certain age, and dad was cool. Now she's in high school, so I don't know if dad's cool anymore, but she still will come drop it. She'll do it. I just she's got to be in the mindset to do it now.
Gotcha.
Mike, remind the people that can find you on Twitter, sir.
mtag1993. Oh, you, Mike. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Hey, that's the first time. That's the first time it happened. I'm shocked. You need the co-host tag, Paul. At CD Piglet, letter C, letter D Piglet. His is more important. Look at that man cave. I got a cool Disney one, but I can't. Look at that. I love it. I love
Every
it.
cave is good. Every cave, no matter what the style is, I think anything you make is. I think it's cool because I bet you if we sat and talked for an hour, you probably got a lot of stories about your stuff too. So.
Bro, that picture, if you see it up there, that's me and my little brother when we were in the womb at Disneyland. So yeah, it's forever.
No, that's awesome.
Mike, thank you again, guys. I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.